This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row, all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults. With 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
You have this great resource, this private community where you're really invested in helping people win.
What's up, Millionaire University? Brian Guerin back with you on the Millionaire University podcast. Today, I am joined by the owner of Growth Community. He is a Circle community growth expert. His name is Jordan Godbey, and I am very excited for him to help us understand what is an online community, who are they for, what do they do, how do they work, how can you start an online community, and what can we learn more about the platform Circle and how it's different from all the different types of different ways and platforms that we can host an online community. So Jordan is a heck of a guy, and he is actually from my hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. We never knew each other until we got into the business world, but Jordan had originally started in digital marketing, much like myself in owning a current digital marketing company. He cut his chops in the marketing space and did really well there. He eventually moved on, had a couple different businesses, and traveled the world. My understanding is he met his lovely wife in France, moved to Mexico, and he and his wife and their daughter currently reside somewhere in the beautiful countryside of Mexico. He says it's amazing. It sure looks amazing, and I trust him. But in that process, he started up Growth Community, where he specializes in helping some of the top names in the online entrepreneurial space build their online communities. I know he works with Justin Welsh, Ali Abdal, Tiago Forte, to name a few. He absolutely knocks it out of the park with some of the biggest names in online entrepreneurship. So we could not have a better guy to join us on the MU podcast to teach us all about online communities and how you could possibly start one of those in your business. If you're not quite there yet, that's okay. This information is going to be something that you can log away in that old cranium of yours and bring it back when it's time to launch a community of your own. So without further ado, let's have Jordan Godbey join us, and we are going to get all the information on online communities that we could possibly want. Here we go. Jordan, awesome, man. Good to have you here. Tell us all about online communities.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. So online communities, it's this term that everyone's interested in right now. It's kind of like the buzzword of 2024, and I think it's just going to keep getting more and more popular. And so it's like, what is a community? You know, community has been around for thousands of years, this idea. We need to define it a little bit more in this modern day and age. And people say, I have a Facebook community, or I'm on a WhatsApp group, or, you know, I have a local community. I think about it a little bit differently. For me, I'm really focused on the transformation side of things. So transformational communities or outcome-oriented communities is how I think about it as well. And so I use a very specific platform. So I use Circle. And one of the nice things about having a dedicated place for your community is you're getting out of all of that noise that we're all in all day, every day, getting bombarded with notifications on those platforms that we use, like Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups and things like that. And so the question I get all the time is, well, shouldn't I just build my community on Slack or on Facebook? You know, that's where everyone's at. It's like, yeah, well, that's kind of the problem, is that's where everybody's at. And so you're just being flooded with noise and distraction and ads. And those platforms are not really designed for your business and for your community, or to help you get your customers and your clients the transformation that they're looking for. So that's a little bit different of a philosophy when I think about communities. Is I think about it as a place to implement and a place to execute and take action and connect with other people to get help. So it's very much a place for getting feedback, for getting coaching, for getting direction. It's around taking action. And so we need to learn some fundamentals most of the time if we're trying to do something we've never done before. So courses, videos, trainings, those are all great, but those now are just kind of the smaller component of the true ingredients in helping somebody achieve a big outcome. And I think having that private community is a great place for people to actually implement all the things that they're learning.
That's a great point about how pulling your community off of the big dogs, right? Slack or Facebook or any of the other number of different platforms where these communities can occur is the distractions are so immense that it's impossible to stay focused. So I came up through an online community teaching digital marketing and specifically how to advertise on Facebook. And it was an online or a Facebook community, which was totally fine. It was a Facebook group. It got the job done. It was fantastic. But in this day and age, the distractions are so intense that I don't know about you, Jordan, but I don't get on Facebook that often. But when I do, it's like immediately like death scroll. Like forget why I got there. I might have been there to try and make a post for one of our clients or one of my teammates on there, and I just forget. So I think that's one of the major points that makes way too much sense is getting off of the massive distraction platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to have the muscle memory where every time I would open a new tab, I would immediately hit the F button to type in Facebook. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I so ingrained in trying to check Facebook a million times a day? Luckily, I have broken that bad habit many years ago. I left Facebook behind. It doesn't cross my mind anymore. I just don't check it. I check other social media, other platforms and stuff. You know, I do go back every once a year or whatever, just to like see if my account's still there or to check an ad campaign or something like that. You know, you got to think about incentives. They're giving away these things for free that they're spending millions and millions of dollars to create. There must be a reason. It's because they're mining you for your data, for your clicks, for your likes, for all that attention that you're spending on those platforms. So it's not really designed for you and for your best interest, but it's for them and their best interest. So when you sign up for a dedicated platform, a dedicated community, they've built this software that you're paying for. And so they've designed it to meet your incentives, which is how do I keep people focused? How do I keep them engaged? How do I help them take action? How do I help them be accountable and create connections and relationships with other people inside the community? Those are very different types of incentives than you would get on some of these other free or mass market or social media platforms. So that's why I think it's really important that you do pick the right technology. The technology is not going to solve the entire problem for you or guarantee you're going to have a successful business or a successful community. But I just feel like if you pick the wrong technology or the wrong platform, it's going to make it a really difficult uphill battle.
What was the old saying? It's if the product is free, you are the product. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works with Facebook. If it's free, you are the product because, like you said, they're using you for your data.
Yeah, and I get this pushback where people are like, "But no one's going to go check some other site, some other platform. You know, everyone's only used to checking their Facebook pages or whatever." And you know, it's good critique. It's good pushback of like, it's another place, another app, another thing to go check. But what I say is, first of all, the nice thing about Circle is that you can really customize the notifications that people get. And so there might be some things in the community that people are not that interested in, so they can turn off all those notifications. But there might be some spaces that people are really interested in. And so they can make sure that they get notified every time there's a new post or a new comment or whatever. So it's nice that it's not just all on or all off. So that's one thing, is that you can personalize it. But the second thing is, I think the more important thing, it's about what is the value of that transformation that someone is going to achieve by being part of this community. And if that is valuable enough, if that is motivating enough, if it's a big enough incentive and priority in their life, then they're going to check it. They're going to open up the browser, they're going to type in the website, or they're going to click the link in the email. It's not really that hard. There's no extra barrier, but it kind of just comes down to at the end of the day, competing priorities, right? We all are still getting bombarded in emails and all the other stuff. If your program is valuable enough and if they have enough motivation, then they're going to do it. So that's something that I find a lot of people struggle with when they want to create a community. They say, oh, I have this great idea. I want to launch a community about antique cars or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, why would someone need to come and check that community every day? Or what would bring them back? And they don't really know. And so it's like, okay, what's the transformation inside of this community? And people really struggle with that as well. They're like, I don't know. People typically these days, we're so busy now, we don't really need another place to just go hang out and talk. It's like we have enough of that going on, and there's already maybe better places for that. That is kind of what social media is. So when you're creating these transformational communities, the very first step, I have this 9-step roadmap, and the very first step is getting crystal clear on what that outcome is, what that transformation or the purpose of joining this community. And if you can't articulate that really well and make that really exciting and compelling, then it does just become another place to hang out or to check or to get bombarded with notifications or to put on your to-do list. And typically that's when you see places where you might get somebody to sign up, but it's going to be really hard to get them to come back, and it's going to be hard to get them to engage. And so you just kind of have these half-dead ghost town type communities.
Right. With your company, Growth Community, you build some of the best online communities for some of the top online entrepreneurs. So I want to get to more details on Circle here in a minute, but I really want to understand when you are a business owner, you're considering starting a business, or if you are a thought leader in your space, or maybe you want to be a thought leader in your space and you don't have a community, but you feel like this might be an avenue for you. Can you give us some ideas around who a community is right for in terms of starting one, developing one, and curating one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say it's a no-brainer for people that are coaches, course creators, experts, kind of thought leaders. If you're creating content, if you are speaking, if you're doing training, that kind of thing, consulting, typically you have a framework, you have content, you're trying to teach and educate, but you're also trying to help people achieve some type of change in their life or some type of transformation again. And so there's many ways that maybe you've been doing this in the past, whether it's in-person seminars or workshops, or maybe you're doing one-on-one coaching and consulting for clients or for companies. By moving that into a community-based environment, you're going to get a lot of leverage. So you're going to be able to serve a lot more people all at once. You're going to get many other additional added benefits, which you might not even realize right now, like just the value of having all of your clients connect with each other. They're going to create relationships. They're going to support one another. There might be accountabilities that's happening between them. They're going to share the good times and the bad times, because you're probably in this position of authority. You're a little bit farther down the road. People want to get to where you are, but you're not in their position anymore. That's why they're paying you to help them. So when they get to be surrounded by other people that are at the stage of life or the stage of journey that they're in, it makes them not feel as alone, like I'm the only person in the world that's watching these videos and reading this book and trying to change my life. But no, I'm actually surrounded by like 50 other people that are also doing this. So there's a lot more benefits when you move into this type of environment if you are that coach or course creator, or you're doing that type of teaching or consulting.
Where does an entrepreneur who's launching their online community, where do they start? Do they have to have a certain amount of people on their list? Do they have to charge right out of the gate? Should they charge right out of the gate? What should they charge? And then once you start getting, let's say you get even a minuscule amount of people to start out your group, how do you keep building that? How does that work for an online entrepreneur?
That's a great question. I think sometimes we look at people who are already very successful, have big followings. We see what they're doing at a big scale, and we think, that's the only way. It's going to take me so long to try to get to where they are. But, you know, they are on the 5th or 10th or 100th iteration, and they've been doing it for a lot longer. So they didn't start that way. So that's one of the myths, that you need to have a ton of followers on your email list or on social media. You really don't. I am actually more of a fan of smaller communities that are higher ticket. So I'm not a big fan of doing the $5 a month or the $20 a month type of community, especially if you do not have a huge audience. So if you have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, that kind of model can work, but most of us do not, myself included. So I have been successful for myself and for my clients, helping them charge more like a couple $1,000s. And that might be for a year's worth of access. It might be for a cohort that maybe lasts 6 weeks. My program, I was pitching it really as a 3-month type of boot camp and charging a few $1,000s for that. That works really well. And the idea is that you're trying to provide a lot of value to the right person. And so that might only be 10 people inside your community. You want to be able to get really clear, like we talked about before, of what that transformation is. If you're vague, it's just going to be really hard to attract the right person and to justify the value. And so that's why I think a lot of people default to this lower price point, because they're not really exactly sure how they're going to help someone or what they're going to help them with. They just think if I bring enough people together and I add enough stuff that it'll be worth the $20 a month. And what's funny is it can be harder to sometimes keep people around at the $20 a month and justify the value because it's just a bit vague and murky and you're just kind of adding stuff where people feel lukewarm about it. Like, yeah, this is kind of cool. But then after so many months, they're like, I don't think I'm really using this enough to justify the $20. Whereas when you get really, really clear, maybe you're only working with 5, 10, 15 people, but you're charging them all a couple $1,000s and they're getting really good results. So it's actually much more fun to run that type of community because you're seeing people win, you're seeing them getting the value, you're seeing them take it very seriously. It's an investment, it's a commitment. So they want to show up, they want to listen, they want to do the work, and they really want to get that outcome that they were sold or that vision or that dream of what's possible. So that tends to be a better way to start than trying to do like a low ticket and get a lot of people in there.
So for those who haven't been in an online community or haven't experienced it before, what does a typical day or a typical week in the communities that you spawn, that you grow, what does that typical time frame look like for somebody who, and you could even use a loose example if you want, maybe it's give me a better example than like an exercise group or something. The transformation is I want to lose 30 pounds or whatever. What does a typical week look like in there, and the type of value that the business owner, the thought leader, the entrepreneur has to provide on an ongoing basis?
I'm thinking about a community that we just launched last week, actually. It was Justin Welsh's community. It's called the Creator MBA. And so Justin's been around for a few years now, growing his audience on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, then you might have seen his content, but he posts every single day. And so he really grew his business around this idea of learning how to create content that was easy to create, interesting, not super repetitive, but that he could do consistently every single day and grow a really large audience. And a lot of people are like, I would like to have a large audience as well so that I could grow my business and sell them more stuff. So he recently launched a much bigger program called Creator MBA, which is not just how do you grow your audience, but how do you do all of the rest of the things that are required to grow a truly successful online business. And so the people that are in that community, they need help with multiple things. They need help with positioning. They need help with pricing and packaging. They might need audience growth help. So there's a few different things that he's doing on a regular basis. So the nice thing is you're able to spend just 1 or 2 hours a day, serve an entire community of hundreds of people, because not everybody has a question every single day, right? Some people are saying, hey, I did the thing that you said and it didn't work for me. I got stuck. Here's what happened. And so he can jump in there and within, let's say 5 minutes, read the post, come up with his thoughts, give an answer, and that might have gotten that person unstuck and given them a bit of clarity and direction of what they should go back and try differently now, what they need to do for the next 7 days or 30 days, and then come report back, how did that work? Did that fix the problem? Are they seeing the results? And so that's a way that he's getting leverage, because not only did that one person get the help and the value, but everyone else in the community got to see that. And many other people are going to be struggling with the same exact question or the same exact problem. So that's one thing, is just being in there on a daily basis to respond to questions and posts and things that are coming from the community. The other thing would be proactively dropping content into the community, whether that's a question of the week or a thought or a lesson or a best practice or a tip or things like that you should be thinking about. I have found that that's been very helpful inside of my own community, of just sharing what's going on in my life and in my journey, concepts I'm thinking about, frameworks I'm thinking about, or maybe an area of the business that I'm trying to optimize right now, like email marketing or conversions or nurture sequences. That can start a whole conversation and people say, yeah, me too, I want to learn more about that, or how are you doing that? And then the other component that's very common is having some type of live event. So having like a weekly or a monthly office hours or Q&A. And these are very easy to run because people just want access to you. And that's another big piece of value, is being in this community is selling them access to you. A lot of times you just can't get access to people on the internet that you see, that you're following and admiring and thinking, wow, these guys are so great. I wish I could just ask them some questions, and they would be able to give me great value in a couple of minutes. You just can't really get that, right? Some people sell an hourly call and it's typically really, really expensive. But with this weekly or monthly type of rhythm, you show up and whoever in the community wants to attend, they attend. Sometimes you get 30 seconds. Sometimes you might get 5 or 10 minutes with this expert. And so you're getting massive amounts of value for typically a very small price compared to what you would have to pay to just get one-on-one time with them.
Shipping can make or break a sale, so optimize how you ship your orders with ShipStation. They make it easy to automate and manage orders no matter how big your business grows. And they might even be able to help reduce shipping and warehouse costs. So optimize and keep up your momentum for growth with ShipStation. Sign up for your free 60-day trial now at ShipStation.com and use the code POD. That's ShipStation.com with the code POD.
I've got kids, and that means it's always about them. But I need support too. That's where Ollie comes in. With their delightful, hardworking gummies, my partner and I can actually get a good night's sleep, so we'll both stand a chance of managing our stress responses. Even when the kids are doing parkour in the living room, discover Ollie vitamins and supplements. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This episode is brought to you by Bumble. So, you want to find someone you're compatible with, specifically someone who's ready for a serious connection, totally open to having kids in the future, is a tall, rock-climbing Libra, and loves rom-coms with vegan pizzas on Tuesdays just as much as you do. Bumble knows that you know exactly what's right for you. So whatever it is you're looking for, Bumble's features can help you find it. Date now on Bumble.
But if you don't have a massive following, like you said, everybody starts from somewhere. If you have, maybe you haven't even started an email list yet, and I might self-answer here, but you have to have a little bit of something to get started. But how much of that something does it have to be in order to be like, okay, I want to make the jump to an online community? Or is there kind of a standard line that needs to be reached before you should take that action?
Yeah, totally. So for people that are serious about building this type of business, you're going to need to build an audience. You're going to need to create content and do that pretty consistently. And this is something that I honestly resisted a lot and was looking for other ways. I was looking at paid ads, like, oh, that could be the magic thing that just brings me customers all the time so that I don't have to create content and build an audience. But one of the things paid ads doesn't do necessarily is doesn't necessarily build trust, right? People want to see who you are and what you believe in and how you talk and how you operate. And they want to see that more than just in a 5 or 10 minute video. They might want to see that over a period of 3 months or a year before they actually sign up with you. And this is a trend that I'm seeing more and more, is that it's, less the infomercial days of here's the offer, $9.99, buy now. It's like, all right, let me just follow this person for a little while and then see if they're legit or not, and if I'm interested in signing up and participating. So without creating content, without building a following, without sharing and doing that, it's going to be hard to truly be kind of an established thought leader with a consistent business that's growing over time. However, you don't need to wait, like we were saying earlier, until you have 1,000 or 100,000 or 1 million followers. What you need to do is you need to have an offer. You need to start talking about something, a problem that you're seeing a lot of people are having, and the fact that you have solved that problem. That problem might be a piece of software, right? Like everyone gets overwhelmed with Notion, and I have figured out how to solve Notion and make it really simple and easy. And I have a couple templates, and you can just talk about this kind of over and over again. You really start to become known as this Notion expert or whatever that might be. But it's hard to grow any type of audience or convey any type of high value when you're just very generic, all over the place, jack of all trades. Every day you're just talking about something else. It's going to be really hard for you to grow. So it's more, I think, important in those early days that you narrow in on something and just get laser focused. And when you start getting a tiny bit of traction, I would say talk to as many people as you can through the DMs. Anyone that engages with you, just shoot them back a message like, hey, thanks for that comment. I'm curious, what about this was interesting to you? Or are you actually struggling with this right now? And when you're early, you just don't have enough reps. So you're kind of guessing, you're just throwing things out there. And that's how we all start. So you want to just talk to as many people as possible, invite them on a Zoom call and just say, hey, I have nothing to sell you. I'm really just trying to do some research. Could I ask you a few questions about this? And once you feel really confident that you understand their pain, their problem, what they want, the transformation, you can put an offer together. And that offer is to take them from where they are now to where they say that they want to be over a certain period of time. And then you apply a price to it. And if the value of that transformation is greater than the price that you're going to charge them, and they believe you can do it, then you'll see people sign up with you. And at that point, that's when you say, okay, the way that we're going to do this vehicle is going to be inside this community. But it's really like the community piece kind of comes second in a way, because you have to first have that offer. I see a lot of times people build a community and then they search for what their offer is. And they're like, I don't know why people aren't signing up to my community. It's like, well, because you've kind of skipped the most important thing, which is, what is that problem that you're solving? How are you solving it? How valuable is that? Sometimes people might have a problem and you might be able to solve it, but it might not really be valuable enough that it's worth paying that much money. I heard an example of man, do your shoelaces ever come untied? And someone said, yeah. Don't you hate that? And you go, yeah. Man, I invented the never untying shoelaces. They're amazing. They're only $1,000 and your shoelaces will never, ever come untied the rest of your life. Do you want it? Nah. It's like, why not? Because it's really not that big of a problem. Yeah, sure, I have the problem. You're right.
Right.
But I can solve it myself in a couple seconds. So it's not really worth it to me.
Yeah. The double knot really does wonders for you.
That's it, man.
It solves
free $99.
Exactly. Do you need a course in order to have an online community?
You do not need a course to have an online community.
Okay.
I would say it is a very valuable component depending on your outcome, depending on the offer and the transformation. Back in the good old days, more just the old days of the internet, courses were the thing, and let's make them longer and longer and more modules and 40 hours of content so that we can justify charging $1,000 or $5,000. But the problem is it's just too overwhelming. It's just too much stuff and no one finishes them, right? I'm sure we've all bought courses that we thought were such a great idea and I'm totally going to use this, and you didn't finish it. I didn't finish it either. Statistically, we know now that only about 3% of courses, or the average completion rate is about 3%, which is not good. And that's just watching all the videos. Then the amount of people that implement what they learned is even less. We don't want to convey value anymore with more and more videos to watch. We actually want to give a shortcut to people to getting to that goal outcome transformation that they desire. So if it's losing 20 pounds, how do we get them there as fast as possible? If it's learning how to program their first app and launch a website, how do we do that again as fast as possible? We can always add infinitely more information and history and examples and context and blah, blah, blah for people to watch. And there's certainly some level that is necessary, right? We can't just start speaking a new language if we haven't watched any or understood any foundational stuff. So now I find that the new problem is just finding the right balance between the fundamentals, education, information, and then implementing and execution. And I think the mix is something more like 20% information, 80% execution, because at the end of the day, we can just sit there and learn and learn and learn and learn. But that's never going to get us any real world outcomes. We have to do. And so sometimes the learning becomes a bit of a procrastination so that we don't have to attempt to try and do and fail and feel dumb and mess up and all that other stuff. So it's better to try to get them executing quicker. But there's definitely communities. One comes to mind, Exit 5 from Dave Gerhardt. It's a B2B marketing community. There's no courses because the idea is that it's a place to advance your career, to make connections, to make relationships, but also just to share what's going on in real time in the world of B2B marketing. So there's a lot of collaboration going on, sharing templates. There's live talks. There's always some type of expert guest CMO from a company we've all heard of and where you get to pick their brain. So there's other ways of giving that value and helping people than just putting it into a pre-recorded structured course. So yeah, it's a little bit about what's the outcome that you're trying to help people with, whether or not a course is the right fit or not.
Well, and it's the accountability factor too, right? Like you, I'm guilty of having purchased courses before where I didn't get all the way through them, or I certainly didn't implement what I intended to learn from those courses, either out of laziness or, hey, the day shifted and now I'm onto this shiny object, right? We're all guilty of that. But the groups that I have been a part of, there's accountability there. And I think that makes all the difference in taking things you've learned, even if it was from a preliminary course, someone there to kick your butt or a group of people to kick your butt to get it to happen. You are the Circle expert. You're the Circle guy. So I want to hear more about the Circle platform, what makes it different, what makes it great, and the types of folks that you help on that platform. I have not used Circle before, but there could easily be coming a day in the not too distant future where that becomes a reality. So I want to, myself and the listeners, we want to learn all about it.
Yeah, sure. So I have a special connection with Circle. I've been following them from the early days, the pre-launch days. Actually, a good friend of mine is one of the co-founders. And so back in the prototype days, I watched the community get birthed, or the company get birthed. I didn't go all in on day one. I kind of just watched and observed. I think that was a great move. 1 million companies get started every year. 90% of them fail, right? There's a bunch in the tech sphere that are kind of fly by night and just fads and trends. And so now that Circle is 4 years old or so, they're really starting to mature. I've been able to watch them quarter after quarter come up with their roadmap and go after really ambitious goals and targets and features, and then execute on them, right? Everyone can say, we're going to do this and we're going to do AI and we're going to be the best and the number one, but then you have to actually go and do it. And so Circle as a company, I think that's the thing that a lot of people miss. You go to a website and you click on features and, it does courses and it does live calls and it does community. So do all of the other apps out there. They all do, quote unquote, the exact same thing. And so what is the difference? And the difference really becomes the team and the company and the culture and the vision and the quality and the standards and the values that these companies have. And then you get into things also like their financial health, their investors, their advisors, who's using the platform, who's guiding the platform. And so that's where I have seen Circle really stand apart from the rest of the crowd of community tools and apps out there. They just have amazing leadership, great vision, solid team. They've executed. There's just a look and feel that's slightly different. And so what I mean by that is when people use an app, there's this intangible feeling when you're using it of if you really like it or not, or if it's creating a little bit of friction. And it's hard to describe, but I feel like Circle has that special something, that little magic sauce where it's clean, it's elegant, it's simple, but it's customizable enough, and you just enjoy using it. A lot of times people talk about what is good design. Well, you don't really notice good design. You only notice bad design because bad design really stands out and it's ugly and it's confusing. But when it's really good design, it just kind of disappears and helps you understand what you're supposed to understand. And I feel like that's kind of how Circle works, is where, again, the technology, the code is not going to make your business successful or make your community successful. You've got to have that strategy. You've got to have that offer and that clarity and that transformation. But using the tool is also really important. If everyone hates using the software because it's slow and it's buggy and it's frictiony and it's just a little bit too uncomfortable for whatever reason, then psychologically we're just turned away from that type of stuff. So I feel like Circle has really nailed all of those basics and fundamentals, just kind of gets out of the way and lets you engage with people, connect with people, and it's just really enjoyable to use. So
it got my mind thinking about the applications, the few of them that I use that I think are really, really intuitive. I'm a Mac user, so I love native applications that work on a Mac. I recently started using a personal finance app. I'm playing plug, but I use Copilot, and they have a native application on a Mac that works really well. Like you were talking about, it's so awesome because it doesn't suck and it's got a great UI, a great UX, and I enjoy using it. And it does stuff that I used to use Mint, which apparently is going away, but it just does stuff that it didn't used to do. So does Circle operate in a similar fashion where they have native application? It's not just web browser based, or how does that work for Circle?
The primary app I would say is web browser based because it works great on desktop, but they have native iOS and Android apps as well. And that's one of the big things around engagement is having people on those native apps on their phone. We're all moving all the time on the go. You're able to engage, get updates, live stream, do all the things on the mobile app, which is really nice. So I probably use it about 50-50 between the desktop and the mobile app. The experience is pretty seamless on both.
What makes Circle different than, say, Slack? I'm not a prolific user of Slack. There's people who use it way more than I do, but for a couple of communities I've been in, we stay in contact on Slack. A couple different businesses I'm involved with, we stay in contact on Slack. What's the difference between Slack and what Circle does?
On Circle, you have this concept of spaces. And basically, spaces are like rooms or channels. Like on Slack, you have a bunch of different channels to go talk in. Well, on Slack, there's only one type of channel. It's just the chat space or whatever you want to call that. On Circle, you have multiple different types of spaces. So you have posts, you have courses, you have events. And so these are very rich, differentiated types of environments or spaces. And that's really nice because, for instance, on Slack, like trying to organize content is really difficult. Slack is a very real-time, synchronous, you're there or you miss it. Like the chat's just always flying up, getting pushed up. And so it's like you feel that you're always on and the conversation just leaves without you. And if you missed it, too bad. It's really hard to go back and find something from a few days ago or a few weeks ago or even later. And so it's hard to mix like evergreen type of content. Like here's all of our resources and documents and courses and great stuff that everyone needs and mixing that real world conversation. And then when you start to incorporate things like live events, I know that those can be really challenging for people to schedule events, get people to register for events, get the calendar reminder for the events so that people don't forget about it and miss it, have it in the correct time zone. So it's like just basic technology stuff, but Slack's not designed for that. And I think that's the reality is that Slack's not a community platform. Slack is a teamwork collaboration platform. And so when you and your company teammates are all online from 9 to 5 and you're sitting there live chatting with each other, it works great. It makes tons of sense. You use Google Calendar to schedule your meetings. You have other websites or apps to do other stuff. And Slack's just a place to chat. But to try to put all the things that these new modern communities need on Slack, it's just not really designed for it. So that's why I feel that the experience on Slack is really subpar because it's not what it was made for.
Okay. So I want to start to bring it full circle here. See what I did there? And I want to hear more about what you do specifically with Growth Community and how you serve the people that you serve. What do you do?
So I work with experts, thought leaders, coaches, course creators. I help them get really clear on that offer, that transformation, and potentially upgrade that vision or just transform that vision into what is possible in these new community environments. Because maybe they have a lot of experience, again, in the real world, face-to-face, one-on-one, group coaching, but how do we move it into something that is really scalable and has a lot of leverage? So I work with them to clearly define that vision. And then once we have that vision, me and my team will build the communities with or for our clients. So we'll actually go in, get our hands dirty. We'll set everything up. We've done this dozens and dozens of times. I think we've built over 50 of these communities on Circle now. And so we really know what works. We know how to dial it in and utilize best practices so that the communities are clean, simple, intuitive, just easy to use, not overwhelming. And that makes a huge difference. Whether you're bringing in 10 people or 1,000 people, you want to make sure that you have all of those things in place so that people are just immediately feeling successful. They're feeling confident. They're moving forward. They're taking action. They're not getting overwhelmed, getting confused, sending in support questions and tickets and just feeling left behind and just frustrated, right? So I help to engineer that experience so that the onboarding is super smooth, the welcome is super smooth, and that you as the client, as the expert, know how to run this in a very efficient way. And so you don't need to be some type of tech savvy person or a programmer or anything like that. I really help to reduce it down so that you can just show up, serve your community, go live whenever you feel like it, give value, create that connection, help your students, your members move forward in their journeys, and have a great business where you're then taking those results, those transformations, those wins that you're helping people generate, and then show that to the outside world. Go put that on social media, show your email list that you have this great resource, this private community where you're really invested in helping people win. And if other people want to get those same types of results, come join the community. So it becomes a virtuous cycle. So that's what I help people build, are these virtuous communities where the more people who join, the better the communities get. And the more exciting, the more fun they are to run. And so just really simplifying down what the best playbooks are to run to help people get those transformations is what I do.
Well, dude, you're absolutely crushing it. It's really fun to watch your transformation and what you're doing for the creators who you help transform the people who follow them through your groups that you grow at Growth Community and on Circle. All the MU listeners, how can they get in touch with you or reach out to you, check you out online? How can they do that?
Yeah, thank you so much. So definitely check out my website. I've got a lot of information there about our different products and services. Got some interesting videos for you to learn more about Circle and about how these community businesses work. So you can find that at growthcommunity.co. And I would invite you to follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. I've been publishing a lot more content there and people really seem to like it. So would love to connect with you on social.
Absolutely. Jordan, you're a great follow on LinkedIn. I'm getting all your posts at the top of my feed now. So that must mean I'm engaging with just about all of them. But they're all really great information and very valuable. So everybody make sure you go out and at least on LinkedIn and follow Jordan Godbey on LinkedIn. Awesome stuff. Dude, thanks so much for being with us. This is just a ton of value. And I think we've all learned a whole lot about online communities with you.
Thanks a lot, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Alrighty, there we have it from Jordan Godbey, the expert Circle community builder at Growth Community. That was some amazing information that we were able to learn today from Jordan regarding building your online community. We are in the heart of the information age. If you have information and knowledge and experience that you can share with more than just one person, going from a one-to-one model and taking it to a one-to-many, then having an online community might be the avenue for you, because you can help impact the lives of so many more people than just one-on-one or one to a few, because these well-curated and well-put-together online communities can make an outsized difference in your business and help you reach more people, which in turn will bring in more revenue into your business. It's a win-win for everybody involved. So if you want to reach out to Jordan or check him out online, go to growthcommunity.co. That's growthcommunity.co. Check him out. You'll see that in the show notes as well. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you wouldn't mind giving us a sweet little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you might be listening, we would really appreciate that. We will catch you on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. Until then, keep getting rich, my friends.